time, I'd like to ask Mrs. Little, if you would please lead us in pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Mr. Forbes, if you lead us please in the moment of silence.
Yes, I would like to, we're thankful for having a safe beginning of a school year and a wonderful school year, and hopefully that will continue, and we are thinking about the parents, the children, the teachers and the faculty and staff and everyone here, and a new beginning with Dr. Lincoln on board. And also we need to remember the families that lost their loved ones today in Washington, D.C. Let's have a moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And as Mr. Forbes was saying, certainly we'd like to welcome Dr. Linker to his first meeting here with us to the Pitt County I know we've all been hearing throughout the community what an outstanding start it has been. I think one of the smoothest transitions with a lot of new beginnings and programs in the state this year being rolled out. And from what I gather, it's been one of the smoothest starts that I believe our district has had in some time. So thank you for your leadership, and it's been an outstanding start, so thank you for that. At this time, under Section 4, under routine business, are there any adjustments to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve.
Second. It's been moved by Mr. Peden and seconded by Mr. Keenan. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Item B, public expression. We do have an individual tonight who has signed up to speak, Mr. Keith Cooper. Mr. Cooper, if you come forward, please. And since you're representing an organization, you do have a maximum of 5 minutes this evening.
Okay, I want to say good evening.
Good evening.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a few comments to make. I, too, on behalf of the Benevolence Corps, would like to welcome Dr. Linker to the county. Obviously, I'm sure you realize so far that this is not Sampson County from the standpoint we're talking about the size of the system. But I've heard very good things about Dr. Linker from the Sampson Independent publication and so forth. One thing that I'm particularly impressed with is his outreach, the fact that he's a very personable individual, and this is the type of leadership that we need. And I don't want to go back to the old superintendent or whatever, but it's very, very important to maintain that type of camaraderie and relationship with the citizens. Collaboration is very, very important, obviously. I would like to encourage collaboration with not just the nonprofit organizations, but parents. Dr. Linker has been up and running already, visiting school to school, and we certainly like to encourage that. Also, we know that in some situations, some parents do not even show up for school board meetings, or they're not involved with parent teachers associations. And that seems to be more pronounced in some of your economically distressed areas, like public housing areas, Moorwood, Hopkins, and Meadowbrook, and places like that. And I think it would be also very, very important to have a presence over there at those community centers. Sometimes you may have to go out to the parents and reach out to them, even if the parents are maybe shy or nervous about coming to you. Because the bottom line is that it's all about the children, you know, and that's one thing that we want to push. And so, and one final thing I want to say here is I would certainly like to encourage a push towards various inequities that may exist within the system, the school system, and not just inequities, but my focus here is on the achievement gaps, especially in math and in reading. There is a particular book, Why Our Schools Are Failing, and what we can learn from a Japanese and Chinese education. There's an excellent book that talks about the importance of reaching for the top, academic excellence in all that we do, not giving up, working very, very hard. And all of our children can achieve academically. And so we would certainly like to encourage more mentors, role models, and tutors and so forth within the classroom situation. Because the bottom line is that that's what works. And I remember Dr. Linker was praised very highly over in Sampson County for doing just that and closing achievement gaps with respect to mathematics and reading among the various ethnic groups and races. And so we certainly welcome that as a breath of fresh air. And I want to, on behalf of the Benevolence Corps, to just offer the support of our organization to do whatever we can with help Dr. Linker, help us and help the school system and move the school system forward. Remember, it's all about the children. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Our next item on the agenda this evening is a spotlight on teaching and learning. And this evening, we have with us Mr. Marty Baker, principal at Aiden Griffin High School, Miss Annette Glass, and students who will have some information for us regarding the Aiden Griffin Link Crew ambassadors for the 13-14 school year. So Mr. Baker and crew, if you would please come forward.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, thank you. We're very excited tonight to present to you our Link Crew plan and what the Link Crew means to that transition from middle school to high school during the freshman first year. And so this time I'd like to introduce Monkeria Wallace, Samaria Trimble, Brittany Taylor, Garrett Woods, Angel Powell, Michael Price, and Bree Datz. If they will come down, they know the order that they're going to be presenting. So again, I appreciate the invitation and we welcome them as they're going to present to you tonight.
Hi, my name is Monkeria. I'm a junior ambassador. I will be talking about what is Link Crew. Link Crew is a leadership program that is offered to high schools. Link Crew helps the incoming freshmen to transition into high school as smoothly as possible, making them feel more comfortable and welcome throughout their first year of high school. It also helps them guide throughout the way so they can be successful throughout their transition.
My name is Mary Trumbull. I'm a senior ambassador. We pick our Link Crew members. We start off with the application, which is open to anyone interested in becoming a Link Crew member. Following the application, we have an interview where we ask questions like what type of grades you made, your personality traits, what can you do to help us help the freshmen, and if you have anything that's holding you back from becoming a Link Crew member, you can tell us about it, because a lot of times people are coming to high school and they'll mess up, but you'll learn from your mistakes, so maybe you can help another freshman not to make the same mistakes you made. But the main thing we look for is a positive attitude and someone who can help the freshmen.
My name is Brittany Taylor, and I'm also a senior ambassador. And after we go through the interview and application process, we immediately start planning. The ambassadors get together and we plan the Link Crew Training Day and the Freshman Orientation Day, which is like our big first event in the year. And then we also go through and we have certain days that Link Crew gets with the freshmen and we perform different things and teach different lessons. And we get together and we throw out ideas to each other and we kind of decide what the freshmen need to know. One of the biggest things is we kind of think of what did we need to know as a freshman. And we take those things and we put them into a lesson and we make them fun and we just educate the freshmen.
My name is Garrett Woods, and I'm a junior ambassador in Griffin. As Brittany said, a lot of hard work has gone into this. So far, we've had our freshman orientation, which was, we pretty much laid the groundwork on what it means to be a Charger and help their transition into their freshman year go a lot more smoothly. We've also had a club fair we had this past Friday. That was basically on helping the freshmen, join more clubs, extracurricular stuff like that. This year we plan to meet with them, like link crew member, around 18 times. When we meet with them, we have presentations, hands-on activities, lessons, the works. Some of our presentations include bullying, underage drinking, even advice, stuff like that. And it's through these lessons that we reach out to the freshmen and help them with their journey as a freshman.
Hi. Hey, I'm a sophomore ambassador. I'm going to be talking to you about the Link Crew training lab. We introduced all Link Crew members, ambassadors, and committees. We gave out the agenda for orientation and everything. We gave out contact information and explained how important it was to communicate with the freshmen. We made posters for our district because our theme was Hunger Games. We walked through the scavenger hunt in the orientation. We made sure that nobody had questions about it. If they did, we answered it. And we let the Link Crew leaders answer a survey to make sure that we're doing everything we possibly can do.
My name is Michael Price. I'm the senior class president at Eden Griffin, so I'm a senior ambassador. Obviously, you know that Link Crew is a mentoring program that assists freshmen in pretty much everything, not just their transition. We assist with anything from showing them what it means to be a Charger to giving them advice on a range of different subjects. You'd be surprised. We tutor them in their school courses. We give them tours of the school and directions to their specific classrooms, or we'll take them to them. Link Crew leaders are informed about all the clubs and opportunities at school so that we can best encourage the ninth graders to participate in them. The leaders must be well-rounded in pretty much everything, clubs, sports, volunteer hours, things like that, so that we can best assist and best encourage the ninth graders to become to truly know what it means to become a Charger.
Good evening. My name is Brianna Batts, and I am SGA president at Eden Griffin High School. I feel like the main reason that Link Crew is still in effect is because of the students that are here tonight. I know for me, as a freshman, it was difficult, and Link Crew led me to where I am right now, as being able to stand up here. This year, they selected people to be part of the ambassadors, and Angel was selected, and she is only a sophomore. And she was selected because she was enthusiastic and passionate about the program. We feel like this is a cycle that we go through, and we are calling this the Link Crew effect, and we hope to keep it continuing.
Thank you. And unlike the Hunger Games, all of our freshman Chargers are winners. And what I have seen is that this program has really flourished. It is, I'm sure, in most, if not all, high schools. And it really helps to transition our freshmen from the 8th grade to the 9th grade. One of the most powerful things that I have seen is that you have some students who may not fit in socially. These link crew members, not just the ones behind me, but the ones that are behind the scenes, the ones who may not be here tonight, are mentoring those, making sure that during the 3 lunches that we have, that students are not sitting alone, that they are engaged. They tutor during lunches. We're having a peer tutoring program. Some of the link crew leaders are involved in that. And we're seeing a difference socially, especially with some students who, they may have some issues socially getting involved in the school, and it's making the school atmosphere and the climate changing to one of, I already think it's wonderful, but it's becoming a more inviting atmosphere. So I appreciate what they're doing. I appreciate Annette Glass, who is an outstanding sponsor. She's our lead counselor, does a wonderful job in working with this group. They work very hard, meeting bi-weekly, and then presenting to the freshmen on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak. It is a wonderful program, and we need to, in my opinion, keep this program going strong in the high schools. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. The next item on the agenda this evening is item 2, which is to recognize 2 reward schools that have been named, and they include Creekside and Northwest Elementary Schools. Rob?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I hope you all are doing well this evening. We have 2 schools who were recently named Title I Reward Schools for 2013-14. And what that means is they were in the top 10% of all Title I schools in one of 2 categories. Those categories being the highest performing school, which means that they had the highest absolute performance in all subgroups on statewide assessments, or high progress school, which means that they made the most progress in improving their performance on statewide assessments. I would like to at this time invite Mr. Dennis Teal and Ms. Paula Frensko down, and they can share with you a little bit about what they've done to earn that designation. And I think Mr. Teal also brought a nice group with him he'd like to recognize.
Good evening, Carla Frensko, principal at Creekside. Thank you. We're very, very proud of the work that we've been doing at Creekside. I think really the changes that led to this for Creekside grew out of the restructuring plan that we put in place during the 2011-2012 school year. And this was a huge undertaking for Creekside. It touched not only our instructional programs, and we focused a lot on consistency of implementation of our programs from not only classroom to classroom at a grade level, but also how they would flow from 3rd grade to 4th grade to 5th grade through the school. It also changed very much the way we looked at data in our school, not only from school data to teacher data to individual student data. And I think one of the things that probably helped us move the most was having periodic data meetings where we looked at the scores that we had on each of our students. Any student that we felt was having a difficult time academically, behaviorally, we really looked at each child individually. Our teacher assistance team was very involved in that. Our counselor, our instructional coach, EC teacher, speech people, whoever touched that child came to the table. And it was sort of an interdisciplinary, if you will, approach to really trying to help each child. So I'm really proud of the hard work that we did. And I have to say a special thank you to Cheryl Olmstead, sitting here behind me, who helped me very much in think about how we rolled that out and what it needed to look like for Creekside. So a special thank you to Cheryl for your help with that. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I think the last time I was here, we were talking about submitting the grant. And y'all know, I know that we got that grant, $1.4 million. Didn't know I would be back up here. I would like to invite, everything we do at Northwest is not a dentist thing. It is a family, Northwest family. So I would like for my Northwest family to all come down and stand with me. There's a key component to student success. 2 years ago, North Carolina was 11th, Northwest was 11th from the bottom, if y'all remember, with state test scores. Now, in 2 years, to rise to the top 10%. We are one of 4 schools that will be recognized in October in Greensboro, and we have the opportunity to go to San Francisco possibly. Out of the 4 schools, I hand-delivered our application to be a Title I distinguished school. In our category, there are only 4 schools, so I think we have a good opportunity. I think 2 from Guilford and 1 from Cumberland. You always check your competition out. I've done that thoroughly. But nothing changed at Northwest. We also have been asked to present at the Title I State Conference. And the title of our presentation is A Little Engine That Could. And Northwest had 93% poverty. And some of the beliefs were they're poor children, they can't learn. Another belief was parent involvement was very low. Their parents aren't involved, they can't learn. We're standing here today to show you what the most significant factor is in a child's life. The teachers.
That's right. Changing
The belief of the teachers who were there, and if they didn't want to change their beliefs, changing their occupation. Some encouragement. And getting people who believe you may be from poverty. Your parents may not be as involved because they may have jobs, they may be struggling, they may have not been unsuccessful at school themselves. But the key factor that changed, the same children are still at Northwest that were there 2 years ago. The factor that changed were the people standing around me, my new family. And I am so proud of each one of these people standing here because the students took the test, the teachers prepared them and coached them for the test. And I am so very proud of them. It's like a father being a newborn baby. I feel like when I see the growth of these young teachers, and for them to be recognized is just something well-deserved. Not only we are it's privileged to be here, but being recognized by the state of North Carolina. And I thank you for this opportunity and privilege tonight.
Thank you.
Dennis, how many teachers do you have in your staff?
Probably around 30.
Okay.
Ms. Frensko, on behalf of a grateful school board and the school system, thank you for the work that you're doing and the strong progress that you've made at your school and for what you do for students. Thank you very much.
No, that's Creekside.
And first and foremost, I want to shake every one of these teachers' hands for the outstanding job you're doing, the big difference that you're making. Thank you for what you do. Thank you.
It's absolutely amazing.
Appreciate it. Tight quarters. And to Mr. Teal, I've known you a long time. I tell Dennis Teal stories to my staff in terms of the quality of things that he does. I think a lot of them are getting tired of my Mr. Teal stories, but what an outstanding leader you are in Pitt County Schools and for what you've been able to do. And you're right, it takes a family and creating that family-like atmosphere. and poor children can learn, and you have proven that. And I thank you for that, because you're making a huge difference along with this family that you created in this West. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. On behalf of Pitt County Schools. Thank you.
Mark, could I introduce himself?
Introduce yourself.
What did you teach? What grade?
Okay.
Lisa Mullen, the first year Mr. Till was out there, I taught third grade and taught third grade for 2 years. I'm the instructional coach this year.
I'm Jamie Siebel. My first year at Northwest, I was a 5th grade teacher, and for the last 2 years, I've been a 3rd grade teacher.
I'm Guy Eichenhoff. This year I am co-teacher leader in the 1st grade thanks to the SIG grant. And the first year Mr. Teal was there, I was a 2nd grade teacher. My name is Kyle Miller, 2nd year teaching 1st grade.
I'm Lauren Sandercock, and this is my 2nd year teaching 2nd grade.
I'm Lily Smith, I teach 5th grade.
I'm Caitlin Virgil, and this is actually my first year at Northwest Elementary.
When I first came, I'm Kendra Oman. I was the EC teacher, and now I'm 5th grade language arts.
Hi, I'm Lee Williamson. My first year last year, I was an EC teacher, and now I teach 1st grade.
Hi, I'm Krista Ward, and I'm the school counselor.
My name is Alan Becker, and I also teach 5th grade English language arts.
I'm Jessica Atwood. I've been teaching 2nd grade for the last 2 years, and this year I'm the parent involvement coordinator and a remediation teacher.
And I'm Charlotte Sharp. I've been teaching a lot longer than I taught 1st grade for a long time, and now I'm teaching kindergarten. I love it, and we all appreciate Mr. Teal greatly.
There you go.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. The guy on the end didn't go.
What's that Robinson?
Thank you. Thank you.
John. Oh, thank y'all for coming. Awesome. Absolutely amazing. Great.
Guys, I don't know about you all, but from that powerful presentation from Aiden Grifton tonight and the great job those students are doing, this is what it's about. These proud moments of recognizing schools for top performance. We have a lot of things to be proud of in this county in terms of what's going on. And that's wonderful, all the way around. Hope you're doing this all day long.
Yeah.
Next item on our agenda this evening, item number 5, which is consent items. Trust that everyone's had a chance to review those.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Peavy, seconded by Mr. Forbes. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I would like to point out item C, the resolution in support of restoring funding to public education. I know our commissioners were talking about this just this morning and just how important that this is.
I could not agree more with you on that, Mr. Kenny. We appreciate the work of our commissioners in that area. I read about that this morning, and I know, talking to Mr. Johnson, avid supporters of public education.
Absolutely.
We certainly appreciate that relationship. Any other discussion? There being none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same sign. Thank you so much. Item 6 under new business. Item A, Operations Committee meeting report. Mr. Forbes and Mr. Cowan.
My name's Michael. If he'd come to the podium and give us a summary of our meeting regarding safety, risk management.
Good evening. Last year, the employee safety and security, student security task force was developed here at Pitt County Schools after the travesty that occurred at Sandy Brook Elementary School. One of the major primary recommendations to come out of the task force that reported back to the board was that a system-wide and a school-by-school risk assessment performed with concerns to our safety and security program. Aaron Bollier, before he left, had contacted various companies who perform such services and evaluated each one based off of the scope, the price, and their experience in the K-12 environment. And based off of that evaluation, it determined that Mark III held the experience as well as the knowledge needed to help do such an assessment for Pitt County Schools. Ron Allen, who is the consultant with Mark III, actually came and presented to the committees, the joint meeting of the finance and the operations committee last month, basically breaking down the services that would be provided through this assessment. And it is very comprehensive, because that the recommendation that he would, the assessment that would be performed would be school by school. It would actually go out to each individual school, evaluate the premises and the layout, conversations with the school administration all the way down to staff level positions, run through the process they would use in time of a crisis, look at their plan they have already at each school site, and from all of this field work would actually develop a report for each individual school. And that report would not only give an assessment of the position, safety and security, but also recommendations for improvement based off of standards within education, and basically what is being seen nationally and at a state level since the tragedies that have occurred over the last year. Now, this plan for Pitt County Schools would be used in conjunction with the activities of our task force, as well as the dollars that we have set aside for safety and security. Last year, the board set aside about $400,000. And we also are looking at some grants that are being offered through the Department of Public Instruction that would help to supplement the dollars that we have as a board. So none of these efforts are done in isolation of the other. It's done with, the review by Mark III in consultation with the task force, looking at what we're already moving forward with buzzers and cameras in our schools, and as well as consultation back through the Board of Education. This will also provide somewhat of a comfort that we can go out to our community and saying that we're being as proactive as possible in order to ensure, to the best of our ability, that we're doing everything we can to protect not only our students, but our employees on a daily basis. This was again presented to the members of the committee that was present at that meeting. I believe there was a total of 7 at that point in time. And the committees voted unanimously to approve this assessment by Mark III, which again was quoted at a price of approximately $36,000. And we have money set aside within our at-risk funding, as well as the local dollars set aside by the board last year in order to fund this.
I move that we have Mark III Services perform a safety risk assessment.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Forbes and seconded by Mrs. Williams. Is there any further discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Cowan. Next item on the agenda this evening is item B, Educational Programs and Services Committee report. That is myself and Ms. Olmstead. Ms. Olmstead, if you come forward, please.
Good evening. Good evening. First of all, we had our EPS Program Services Board Committee meeting September 5th. Committee members present were Jill Hannah, Benny Forrest, Barbara Owens, Christine Waters, and Mark Richard. We discussed 2 items on the report. First item was to discuss the impact of the different initiatives we've had to increase our graduation rate. I actually talk about the numbers. And so, as you know, we've celebrated an increase in our graduation rate. Again, we were at 77.5%. That's a 13.52% since 09-10. So we're very proud of that. And so what we wanted to look at was do a report on what impact the initiatives have that's been put in place since then. And so we looked at, the first thing we looked at was the 19-year-old 21 credit diploma. Now just as a reminder, that is for students who turn 19 before they're scheduled to graduate, usually indicates that they've been through a retention process. And as you know, back in the late 90s and early 2000s and stuff, we had the gateways, which forced a lot of retention. And so what we're looking at is having the requirements be allowed for if a student was 19 years old and had been retained, meet the North Carolina standard graduation requirements, which is a 21 credit diploma. We had 83 students graduate this year with the North Carolina diploma of 21 credits, which we were very proud of. And y'all were instrumental in passing that in our policy. We do appreciate that. It's had a major impact. The other thing was the creation of Pitt Academy. We had students that were being long-term suspended for things that were required and legislated that we had to suspend them for, and then we didn't offer in them anything as far as school went when they went to long-term, so they were just out in the community. Pitt Academy was created. It's a blended learning environment where students who are long-term suspended, if they are committed, if they're committed to learning, then they can be assigned Pitt Academy, and they participate in a blended learning environment where they take, through Odyssey, where they take classes. And it's a software program where they have to have mastery in the different content objectives and standards. And we had 17 graduates. Now, that's more than that. I mean, that's less than at the school, but those are the seniors that were at the school that would have just been sitting at home. So 17 students got in there and really appreciated the effort. And if y'all have ever attended the Pitt Academy graduations, they are some of the most gracious and grateful kids you'll ever see for having that second chance. So we had 17 graduate from that. The Summer Success Program is the program that allows students who are seniors to, if they don't make the mark, in other words, what we're looking at there are the students who still may be working on a class and graduation comes and the end of the year is there, and it's like you have to cut them off and say, I'm sorry you didn't make it, you don't get to graduate. What Summer Success does is it allows them to go online through Odyssey Ware or credit type of recovery and continue working until June 30th. So in other words, if something's happened, they've been sick or they've been out, they can continue working. Even though we go through the graduation ceremonies, even though school technically ends on June, we allow them to work right up until we have to report graduations. And so they work up until June. Usually it's the 28th because we have to have a day to compile everything. But they work right up, and then if they can finish and get their credits, they can graduate. And we had 28 students take advantage of that this year. So those are the programs that's been put in place to help our graduation. And if you were one of those 28 or one of those 17 or one of those 83, it would be a big deal to you. And it was a big deal to us, and it's a big deal watching them cross that stage. Those are some of the ones that you see dance feel good, people across. We're really proud of it, and we think we've done some really good things. So I think we should celebrate that every time we get a chance, and I think that it's nice to keep up with the impact that on the decisions that we're making in this district, because it made a big impact. The second thing that we talked about at the committee meeting was the technology plan. So I'm going to turn it over to Tim. He needs approval for the technology plan. As you know, we have a technology task force. Jill serves on the technology task force with us, but he's going to go through the PowerPoint. It's in front of you, I think, if you want to see some of the paper rather than look at the screen. And I thank you.
Good evening. The PowerPoint is in your board packet. Computer shut down, I don't have to log back in, just want to save some time. But you do have the packet, or the presentation in the packet. With this technology plan, technology is something that we can no longer kind of dismiss and put off to the side. In the educational environment, technology, it's here to stay, and it's our obligation as a school system to effectively integrate that technology into our classrooms. This plan continues to be an ongoing process to what we've already done over the past 5 years. It's an understanding of where the school system and the technology merge together to make our students competitively, globally competitive adults for whatever path they choose once they graduate from Pitt County schools. So the great thing about this plan is we have two overarching goals that are going to continue to guide us through this process. One of those goals is to stay the course. We started 5 years ago looking at our infrastructure. Jeff Smith, our technology director, he kind of headed up that when we looked at
what kind of servers, infrastructure we needed to roll out the devices. We could roll out the devices all day long. We did not have the infrastructure. We were just kind of wasting our money. So once we got all of that funded up, and this year we'll actually finish putting in the last of our access points, so we have an access point in every classroom. So we can be wireless, and that's a good setup to have. We're way ahead of the curve for a lot of school systems, to be able to say we are one-to-one with an access point in every classroom. And that was part of the purchasing plan that you all approved last year with that. So once we had our infrastructure in place, we started looking at how can we now upgrade our technology. So over the last 5 years, we have been refreshing every computer in our district. When we kind of took on this role 5 or 6 years ago, we had computers that were 12 years old in our district. So over the last 5 years, we successfully replaced every old computer we had, but we had no computer older than 5 years. And that's a big deal, because technology changes fast, and it doesn't take long for a computer to get old, where it really does not keep up with the software that you're trying to run. So this summer, we rolled out 8,000 Chromebooks. Now those 8,000 Chromebooks replaced or refreshed those first set of computers we rolled out 5 years ago. So we're now kind of taking the next step of where do we want to go with our technology and refreshing those computers from 5 years ago. So we've kind of successfully navigated through a process of refreshing our computers and keeping them up to date. I have to give Michael Cowan a lot of credit for that, because he's the one that finds the money to make that happen. We can sit in the task force and lay out the vision all day long, but ultimately it comes down to dollars. And he's bought into that philosophy, what we're trying to do. He's encouraged with it, and he found the money for us to really do that whole 5-year process. So, Michael, I thank you for that. But we have to continue. We can't just stop with we bought 8,000 Chromebooks. We got to keep marching forward. So we want to stay the course. So with that leads us to our next major goal. And we can have all the technology we want, that's fine and dandy, but if we don't have the professional development to go along with it, we are absolutely wasting our money. Which it's hard to do the professional development if they don't have the computers to put their hands on. So I can train teachers all day long, but if they can't go back to their school and actually pull the computers into the classroom to work with their students, they don't really want the training. So we've been navigating down the path, doing the best training we can with the teachers that want it. But this year, with those 8,000 Chromebooks that we rolled out, we've really inundated our school systems with access when you want it, or at least more opportunities to have it when you want it. So we have our computer labs. We did not take away any older computers. They're still there. Jeff and I, we kind of came to an agreement that let's keep those computers that are 5 years old in the school until they don't work anymore. There's no reason to get rid of them if they're still working, but when they become a headache and they're too slow and it's taking too much of the text time to operate them, then we're going to pull them out of the school and we'll get rid of them. But we'll just use them while they're still good. So this illustration that you have in your packet is kind of the philosophy that we want to take moving forward. And that is how we're impacting instruction and teaching and learning in the classroom. So if you're looking at this diagram, on the left-hand side, you have revised Bloom. That's pedagogy on what kids need to do or what anybody needs to do to kind of retain the information. So the higher you work up that from remembering to creating, the more apt you are to remember what it is you were taught. And that gives you the stronger ability to demonstrate. So when a child has to create something, they can better show they understand the concept that you were trying to teach. That middle section with the arrow, that's kind of the teacher's role. When they come in, they want to instruct the students, and they want to model for the students, and then they want to coach the students along. And then the one on the far side is the SAMR model. That's a kind of a technology integration model that a professor, I believe in Wisconsin, developed, but it's 4 parts. And the first part is substitution. In substitution, that is just taking a computer and they're doing the same thing that they would have done with paper and pencil. The research shows that kind of substitution model, there's no real difference in how a student performs. It's kind of the same, just kind of changes how they're doing it. That's
That's great for entry level, but that's not where we want our teachers to stand, to stay once we get into that process. That's a lot of money to spend on technology if they're just gonna stay at that lower level. So we want them to kind of move up the chart. So the next is augmentation, which is there's a little bit of enhancement, and with that enhancement, you kind of get a little more boost, a little more benefit to a child understanding the concept and moving forward, and changing the student learning outcomes. And then when you get to modification, that's when we really start to make a difference in how a student is using that technology. And it kind of correlates right on over with analyze and evaluate. So this diagram kind of puts all those things in perspective, how we're teaching, how we're using the technology. And as you move right on up, it allows the student, the higher they can go up, the more in-depth they can get into the learning process and demonstrate the critical thinking and understanding of whatever it is we're trying to do. So that's just kind of a quick illustration to kind of show how we want to mesh all those things, how we want to train our teachers to use the technology. It's an illustration for the principals to use when they're walking through a building, to quickly look at that and go, are we at the substitution, the augmentation, the modification, or the redefinition? And all of those may be fine, but you certainly don't want a teacher or student just to stay at the bottom. You know, there's a place for all of those things, but you ultimately want to work towards the top. All right, so the next thing we want to look at is, that's the kind of the instructional plan of how we want to do that, but then how do we get that into the school system? How do we train our teachers? So the next slide will illustrate kind of how we want to roll that out. So within the instructional technology department, I've set up this diagram where we want to train some key people in the building. There's really 5 major people that play a role in this implementation process. That would be the principal, the teacher, the principal, the teacher, the media coordinator, the instructional coach, and then the media clerk. And all of those people play a role. Now, in your packet, I put this nice colored diagram, and that's our instructional support model for 21st century. And that highlights the role of the media coordinator, the media clerk, and the instructional coach. Those are the 3 people that kind of have their feet on the ground to make sure this process works out. So we're not just throwing the technology out there and going, have at it, let's see what happens. You know, maybe we'll get to that redefinition of the technology. We want people in the building. So when we developed this model, when I sat down with my staff, Joanna, Beth, and myself, and we sat down and we started talking about this, it's what resources do we already have? I don't want to come to the board and say, we need instructional technology for every school. I know that's impossible. So what resources can we use? So this is the model that we came up with. So we wanted to take kind of the media coordinator would be that center pillar that would hold the whole process together, because they have to hold on to traditional media roles that they have, because we haven't gotten rid of the books. So they're still trying to manage the media center, but also we want them to be able to support the research, the ICE standards, what kids are supposed to be doing in the 21st century. So we wanted to use that media coordinator as that main pillar. But then she would work, or he would work with the instructional coach too. And the 2 of them together would make up that technology facilitator that the research says the school would need to successfully implement technology in the school system. So we took this model and said, let's use the people that we have in our building to make that happen. So we did that last year. All the middle schools and the high schools have that 3rd pillar that really makes the difference is the media clerk, because the media clerk frees up the media coordinator to do all those other things that have to happen in the school. The media clerk kind of holds down the media center. They're there for checkout when kids need help, but it doesn't tie the media coordinator to the library. They can go into the classroom, because ultimately when we're looking at cataloging, processing books, checking out books, going to plug in a computer because it's not working, that's a job that the media clerk can do. Because our media coordinator is somebody with a master's degree, with a teaching degree, that needs to be impacting instruction. Not spending the time processing a book, putting a label, not that I'm minimizing those things, but we're talking about a person with a master's degree in instruction. So we want them to impact our teachers. So that media clerk frees up that media coordinator to work with our teachers to integrate that technology. So you kind of see the roles of each one of those people. What we did was we took the technology facilitator and the media coordinator goals that come from the state, and we developed instructional coach goals that kind of go along with that, and media clerk goals that go along with that as well. And then we kind of isolated their jobs so they could clearly see what was their responsibility and then where those things overlap. So the green is the technology facilitator, so as you look down that list, that's where the media clerk, or the media coordinator and the instructional coach work together to make sure that happens in the school. And so I'm very proud of that model. I think it's worked well, and the schools that are using it, Aiden Griffin, I was here tonight, they have it going on with that model. They are doing a fabulous job. Their media clerk and their instructional coach and their media coordinator are in the office together. They share a common space so they can constantly talk about what does Miss Jones need help on? Did you see Miss Smith? She was working on this. Oh, I can help. So they're there so they can have those conversations so they can figure out how they can go and implement that plan while the media clerk is out in the main area helping students or taking care of the shelving the books or whatever needs to be done. So it is definitely making an impact in those schools. So finally, this technology plan, is, like I already said, it's a continuation of the last 5 years of our strategizing through the technology task force. We have built the infrastructure to support the devices. We will continue to increase the access to technology. And finally, with that greater digital access, we can now more successfully focus on training our teachers on how to use the technology to impact teaching and learning so that our students graduate globally competitive in a technology-rich world. And so our goals, for the most part, have stayed the same. We need to continue to purchase those devices, but more importantly, for this next 2-year process, we want to train our teachers. So, do you have any questions? Might be ready.
All right, Mrs. Williams, followed by Mrs. Chemnitz and Mr. Forbes. Ms. Williams?
Yes, thank you, Tim, for your presentation. You said that there were 8,000 Chromebooks.
Yes.
Who gets them?
They were evenly distributed among the schools. So we have a formula that we worked through the task force. It strictly looked at how many kids were in the school, how many, because it served 2 different purposes. One, to impact everyday instruction, but then 2, to get us ready for online testing. So we looked at how many tests had to be given, and our goal was to get testing done within 1 week. So we looked at how many kids had to be tested, how many computers would that take for that to happen, and then we equally distributed that out to all the schools.
Okay.
And some schools got more than others because James Rose is a bigger school than Bethel. They have 1,600 kids as opposed to 300. So, but it was equally distributed out based on how many tests had to be given.
Who else on the technology task force other than you and Jill?
There are Ms. Olmstead, there's 3 principals, Sean and Cherry. For last year it was Sean and Cherry, Mary Carter, Brad Johnson, Rebecca Boyer, Michael Cowan, Cheryl Olmstead, Dr. Emery, Jeff, myself, and Aaron.
Who on it this year?
The new principals this year are Shonda, Marty Baker, and Jennifer Poplar. And I get those principals through Papa. So they go to Papa, they sign up for what they want, and then they give me the names, and that's what we put on them.
Okay. Now, and I'm very proud of the fact that we came up with the money, everything like that, and that's great. Have an issue.
Okay.
Parental instruction on these devices, because these devices are replacing paper books.
And maybe in some instances, that depends on the schools.
Well, yeah. So my thing is, with this being accessing, you say, how it can daily impact the student for instructional time. how do they know that they have access to this?
Well, we're not in a true, I mean, we're rolling out a lot of technology, but we're not in a true one-to-one environment. The kids aren't taking the technology home. This is happening in the school setting during the day. So how the teacher chooses to use that, if they're using through Google Drive or they're accessing the internet, the kids are taking their notes. You know, we have not gotten to the point where we want to start talking about the students taking them home. We might be too.
That's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you about the access to these devices when they need them, as opposed to going to the library and checking out a book. Can they go to the library and check out a MacBook?
Well, as far as the student checking it out to be able to take it home?
Or parents, do they know that they have access to this information?
Well, I don't know that they have access to check it out and take it home.
Well, that might be something we need to look into.
We can certainly talk about it.
Okay. And you mentioned out of those 8,000 Chromebooks, you know, that Aiden Grifton got it going on. We have a lot more schools than that.
Definitely, that was just one example.
Okay. All right. I still have an issue with, or maybe you can do this, or maybe the technology task force can get together and comprise a letter in layman's term to let these parents know that this technology is here. And a lot of it is going to be above their heads. And if they need that extra help, then they need to set up an appointment with the media coordinator or the media clerk to be able to help their child better. And to know, I don't know what that will entail, you know, but I know I would like the language to, and I don't know if other boards, but I would really like the language to be where it's understood, not those $15 words, but something that the parents throughout the county know that this is available for not only to help their children, but to help them to help their children.
Mr. DeCreasy, is there a letter that goes home in terms of internet acceptable use agreement that our students?
Yes.
I would suggest that probably a one line in there letting parents know about the program that we have going on would suffice with that.
Okay.
Mrs. Kemmons?
Did you say there are media clerks in the middle schools and the high schools? But not, we don't have them in elementary schools?
In the K-5, K-8, there are assistants already in the schools, and it's kind of left up to the school whether or not they want to allot a position to the media center.
But in middle school and high school, we have those.
Where there were no assistants, we opted to say we're going to fund this media clerk so we can implement this program, this model.
So that's something that down the line we may need to take a look at. If that person is going to be very important in the effective use of the technology, then that may be something we need to look at down the line. As we, for K, right. The 8,000 Chromebooks, you said that they replace the 5-year-old computers, and I understand those are still in the building, but just for clarity, we also had a net gain.
Oh, yes.
The Chromebooks didn't just replace the old ones, we had a net gain of devices.
We didn't go to a school and say, you only qualify for 40 computers based on you have 5-year-old computers. We looked at the model for equities, we passed it out and said, well, this school needs 4 carts. Okay, well, that's 120 computers. But they were only supposed to get 40 because they were 5 years old.
For replacement.
Right. They got 120 because that's what the model said, and that's what we were able to buy. So they were definitely above. And that's what was nice about the model. It didn't take any of that other stuff into account other than how many computers do we need to do online testing in a week? That's how many the school needs? Okay, so we can afford to buy this many. Put the formula in there, divide it out, and then it distributed all the computers to the schools and said this school gets this many, this many, this many, until we got to that number.
So do we have sufficient to test in a week, or are we going to have sufficient after another round of purchases?
I looked at that Thursday. I think we were 25 cards short.
Wow.
But that's cool, I mean, going back, it has been very small. So now we're over 300 and, so last year we had 43 going into the summer. And now we're at 340 something.
Okay.
And we needed 375.
So we will need our commitment and Michael's magic one more time to make another round of purchase to really get us to where we need to be for the testing. And then probably another round after that to get us on one.
This next year.
Right, okay.
Maybe we partner with some business locally?
Mr. Forbes?
Believe it or not, I was associate superintendent when we first started this plan. We met downstairs. Jill was present. And I looked back at that material when I saw that we were going to have this 5th year. And in that material, we had guessed that 5th year that we would be replacing 6,500. So we went over, which was great, and we was able to do that. But I think it's to be commendable to the staff and to the county that we were able to do this. And that we really, in a way, we were close to what we thought we were going to have to replace. And it looked like an impossible task. But it did happen. And I'm just grateful that it has. One other question about the wireless. Tell me about that wireless. The wireless internet is present where?
We're not done with the the access points.
Right, tell me, yeah.
They've been purchased. I think Jeff can maybe speak that more to this than I can, but every high school is done, I think. Every high school finished up this summer, access point in every classroom. We're finishing up elementary and middle, hopefully by December, March.
Good evening. Yes, this summer we rolled out over 300 access points, so every single high school has one in every single classroom. And then we took the middle schools that had the most number of carts from our formula, therefore we had the most number of wireless devices in the buildings, and we went ahead and put one-to-one in those classrooms also. What we're waiting on right now is we have filed E-rate for about 10 schools north that were 90% schools. And those, when that comes through, which every year 90% has come through, so we're holding our finger, crossing our fingers that it'll come through this year. Those access points that are currently in those schools will be pulled out. We'll go one-to-one with the E-rate and the ones we get because we purchase them with our own money, and we can take those and backfill, and at that point we'll be complete one-to-one across the entire district. And E-rate approval usually comes in the October to November timeframe, and so we're hoping that before the spring testing window, we would be one-to-one across the hall.
And that was my last question, what you were going to do with that E-rate money when it came through. That's good.
One of the things I'd like to say, I think Mr. King has a question also. Jeff, you and Tim, as well as Michael, don't do a strong enough job in terms of tooting your own horns, in terms of the amount of work that I know Tim presented this at the educational, along with Michael, I believe, at some point, in terms of the fairness and equity, in terms of, going back to Ms. Williams' original question, you guys really pinned it down to the number of computers that were needed for testing and to carry out instructional programs. And I was very pleased with the fairness and equity that went into that to share them amongst the schools. And you did an outstanding job. So I think you guys should be thoroughly commended for that, in that all of our schools were treated equally in that process, and as much was permissible. Mr. King?
Couldn't agree more with what our chair just said. Two quick things. Tim, in our board packet, it says y'all are requesting approval for the 2013-2014 technology plan, and this presentation says 2014-2016. Can you just verify the dates?
It is for the 14 through 16.
Okay, then, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the technology plan for Pitt County Schools for 2014 through 2016.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Kennedy and seconded by Mrs. Kimmons. Is there any further discussion?
One discussion.
Mr. Moore?
I'm sure you've figured this out already because we've gone this far. But when you say an access point in each classroom, I think in my mind is, why does there have to be one in each classroom? Maybe down a hallway where 7 classrooms can access? Is this a special?
It'll slow it down.
Okay.
So if
That's
you're competing,
broadband.
you know, you got 32 Chromebooks in each classroom, they're all trying to get on the same.
Good. No problems.
Mr. Chairman, I have one more question.
Mrs. Williams?
Is it possible, when did the task force meet?
The 24.
Of every month?
Well, this one.
No, it's not every month.
Do they have minutes?
Yes.
Can we get them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's it.
I can share the access to the site that we use, and you can go back and the minutes are on each meeting.
All right.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same sign. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Next item, item C, under Policy Committee reports, Mr. King.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, we held a policy committee on September 9, 2013. I'm proud to say that we had 100% attendance.
At 6 o'clock.
At 6 p.m. Our first policy tonight is the first reading for a new policy, 7.018. I'm just going to ask Delilah Jackson to come to the microphone in case there was a question. This is just for first reading tonight. This came from our Human Resources Committee.
I trust that our board members have had a chance to review this. Does anyone have any questions ahead of time?
Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
Thank you.
Very good. That's good. That'll bring us to our second reading for the revised policy 9.304 regarding instructional time. And if there aren't any questions, Mr. Chair, I would move that we adopt policy 9.304 regarding instructional time.
Second.
It's been moved and it's been seconded, and I believe this is in line with the new state language in terms of instructional hours.
It is.
Very good, sir. Thank you. I just wanted the public to be aware that was probably one of the prompting factors in terms of changing that.
Yes.
Instructional hours. Very good. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Thank you so much for that report. Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Dr. Jackson, for that information. Next item is item D, which is board discussion regarding the re-advertising for board attorney position and to appoint subcommittee to conduct interviews. On page 36 in your board books, it basically says the same. Is there ever be open for discussion at this time regarding that issue? Mr. Forbes.
I think what we need to do is to delay searching for a board attorney until closer to the end of the year. I think we should continue what we're presently doing. I can see someone from his office meeting during our board meetings, and Rob continuing his duties during the day. And I just think that we would save money in the long run by doing that, and beginning a search closer to the month of April.
Thank you for those sentiments, Mr. Forbes, Mrs. Chemnitz, and then Mrs. Waters.
I agree with Worth that this isn't something that's urgent right now. However, I'm also questioning whether April is soon enough. Maybe we could get some research on how long a search is likely to take and just work back from there. So sort of get a timeline in place that, if we post the advertisements in February, then it takes X number of weeks, and then interviewing takes X number of weeks, and with the goal to be ready to hire someone in June.
Correct. I agree with that.
But let's make sure that we give ourselves enough time.
Okay. Mrs. Waters?
It is unfortunate that we have turned over as many personnel members as we have, especially given the experience that has walked out of this system. But we need to have some serious discussions about salary. We continue to be amazed that we are not attracting people to come to this district. given the size and reputation of the district, and yet I think salary is a large factor in that. It has been for attracting principals. It obviously was a deciding factor in the last fiasco with the attorney, and I think that we need to have a serious study of what the market bears in terms of an attorney. And I personally am not interested in interviewing attorneys such as we did before, who don't know anything about fines and forfeitures and have no experience in school law, but they're looking for an entry-level job. I mean, we're dissatisfied with what we've got, and we need to accept the fact that if we're going to get quality, we need to pay for some quality. And so I think that is, I'm not exactly sure who could do the research, but what are attorneys being paid? I don't mean private attorneys. I mean attorneys for school systems of this size, attorneys that are employed at the university. I mean, so often we hire and train someone, and then they take off to the university because they can get $20,000 more. We need to have some serious discussion about where our salaries are across the board for our personnel and for our superintendent and possibly this attorney. I just think that's part of the ongoing process, and if we delay, we have time to have that discussion, but we must have that discussion.
Could I perhaps, I think maybe Dr. Jackson under HR, if you could put some numbers together for us, I think it would be important for this board perhaps to see, and I think even through all of this information would be public record in terms of districts of comparable size, surrounding districts, because I think in terms of my knowledge of surrounding districts, I think it would be rather shocking in terms of the low pay that Pitt County has for many of our positions. But please make sure that we look at from superintendent to assistant superintendent, associate superintendent, rather first, assistant superintendent, even into principal salaries, and particularly since we are certainly looking at this position in terms of attorneys' positions, for those that have in-house attorney and for those that contract with a law firm such as Tharrington Smith, what their contractual fees are that they pay during the course of an annual year, annualize it. Maybe if there's several years that they're working with Tharrington Smith, kind of get an average, because we do know from our experiences there are ups and down years in terms of things that go forth. But if you could compile that information, and certainly we'd like to take a look at that in terms of competitiveness, because Mrs. Waters is correct. We have lost some individuals in terms of salary in our county, and we have to be competitive in terms of what we're doing. Certainly we all lament what our teachers are being paid, and but the sheer numbers and volume of teachers make it difficult to impact much more than the supplement, and certainly that's an area that we need to be working towards as well. But we need to be retaining high-quality leadership, because as we can tell, certainly with Mr. Teal that was here earlier tonight, Ms. Frensko, those are the individuals that create and assemble those dream teams of teachers in those classrooms that make it happen, and that is very, very important. So if you could, do you feel that's something your department could put together for us?
Most definitely. I do want a point of clarification. And Mr. Waters, you mentioned attorneys from the university, and we know we're a big employer for Pitt County, so I wanted to know if you wanted to include university, city of Greenwood. Just let me know what you want.
And the county, yes.
Because I know there's going to be some variables there, so I just want to make sure what you want included, so that maybe something up for further discussion.
Personally, my personal opinion on that is you're kind of comparing apples to watermelons. Yeah, in terms of the numbers of students, the UNC system, obviously, even in terms of leadership of the chancellor, if you look at chancellor salaries versus superintendent salaries, there's a huge disparity there in terms of what they're paid. So I suspect we would find a huge disparity in terms of what they're, and I would suspect they also have more than one attorney that works for the university.
Stick with school system.
What is the board's pleasure on that?
I agree.
Agree.
Sir.
I got a question.
Mr. Forbes?
Sorry.
The only thing that I would say, I think that we should look at what a board attorney would make in regards surrounding counties. But I am not in favor of raising any salaries at the central office level until the teachers, teacher assistants, and the other personnel get raises.
We'll be getting searched. I guess we can communicate later as far as when you would like the information brought back to you.
I would say, since it sounds like we're going to take a little time in terms of being very thoughtful
Yes.
about the attorney process, if, does the board maybe think?
I'm going to
I'm sorry, what?
couple of months.
February?
February?
Do we think February, that'll give you plenty of time?
That's too late. That's too late.
Ms. Cammons?
Maybe while Delilah is compiling that information, the next time the HR committee meets, perhaps the committee could develop a timeline based on how long it took us last time.
That's good.
Come around and see what a rational timeline is, and then once we have that, we can decide when we want to have the conversation on Delilah's data.
Let's hold that thought for just a minute. I want to hear the other questions answered, if there are others, and then perhaps if you'd like to offer that in the form of a motion of putting it back to HR, I think that would be a good step. Ms. Williams?
Okay, and Mr. Chairman, I would like to make note of this. Me being the chair of Human Resources Subcommittee, we had terrible miscommunication amongst the board when it came down to this school board attorney. A small group committee, I think, with the information that Delilah is going to prepare for us, should come to my committee. That's a small committee. We can take our time. We can choose the candidates, make our referrals back to the board to see what everyone thinks, so that there'll be no questions as to who's calling who, no phone chain. You see what I'm saying? It'll eliminate one board member getting information that another one didn't. So by doing it in a small committee, that would allow us to present it to the whole board for approval. If anyone is in disagreement with that, or...
The only thing I would say to that is a departure from what the board wanted last time, which was the full board to participate in the process.
And that didn't work well.
I think that could be a good process if we want a committee to do that. Ms. Waters, any other questions?
Okay. HR committee meets this week, don't they?
No, we don't.
This month. We will have a meeting.
You've already met this month. Not meeting. I would be in favor of trying to get this information for your next meeting, which would be October, and reviewing that, Mary, and bringing back some results. In addition, and I liked what you said, you handled the Pitt community thing beautifully. In addition, I'd like to see the duties, the expectations of the attorney refined and made very specific. There is no point in wasting our time interviewing 5 or 6 candidates.
Get the finalists.
If they cannot offer us the specific things we're looking for. And if we're not interested in somebody without experience, don't apply. I mean, make up.
But I also want to be clear. I want to give Ms. Jackson, Dr. Jackson, enough time to get this done. Okay. So having it to us by October is not a good thing. I would like to have it. I would like to have it at least to us initially after the first of the year, whether that be January or February, because April is the timeline that we're looking at making a decision, if that's okay. Barbara, you look like you had something to say.
I was just thinking, I wonder if we don't have time to discuss, the board needs to tell us, the HR committee, if we're in fact going to do that,
what the expectations of the board are in regard to an attorney. I know we have a job description, but last time we were all over the place about what our expectations, the 12 of us, were in regard to salary, job description, and blah, blah, blah.
And that's what she's gonna get for us, so we can look and present it as a subcommittee, then present it to the board.
As a proposal.
As a proposal.
Well, and a point of discussion.
Right.
Right, but I'd like to bring it forward in time to have discussion.
Yes.
And I would say, whenever you meet in October, the next board meeting, I'd really like to see some information.
Well, what I can do, because a lot of the beginning pieces of this process started in the Human Resources Committee, where you also need, just one as a point to bring up, is advertisement, because it does cost money to advertise in the professional journals. It takes time to get back and forth with the people that you're going to advertise with. You have to find funds, and all of that is included as well, because once we open up that advertisement, the emails and the responses are gonna come. So that's why I think it's very, it's worthy of taking some time to figure out your process.
Yes,
Once we open the gate, it starts, and then that in turns, as far as a communication gap, if we start the process and people start applying, and then we're still in process and they don't hear, then that causes them to come back and say, well, is it still open? So I think it is key to get your structure together first based on how it just operates. And once people see that, see their advertisement, and the emails start going out to their professional organizations, their associations, they really start applying. And so that's just something to think about.
So October, to me, is not enough time for them.
Could we say the January 6th board meeting would be our only board meeting in January? And then starting it out with Jackson, if you look at that date and you feel like you need a little bit more time, then I think this board can be flexible in putting that together.
Because we will, because the September meeting, we didn't have anything that was on the agenda for like next week.
Right.
So we canceled that, but it'll start tomorrow.
That's good.
And then October, we can bring a skeleton of what we have from the past.
Very good. Very good. We have motion in terms of the Human Resources Committee
So move.
taking that.
So make a motion. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Jim.
I move that the Human Resources Committee be the point, I'm trying to think of the word I want, the originator of timeline, budget, a revised job description, a first look at the data, at the salary data that Doral is going to come up with, and then propose and bring forward to the full board, as we usually do. And for that process to begin in October, and as soon as we're done with it, we'll bring it forward.
Thank you. It's been moved by Mrs. Cammons and seconded by Mr. Forbes. Is there any further discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same sign. Thank you very much for a very productive conversation on that. Item number 7 this evening is comments by Dr. Lincoln.
Just quickly, just thank the board again for the opportunity to be superintendent in Pitt County Schools. A couple things I've noticed going around our schools is we got some quality teachers and some quality principals who are doing an incredible job. I've worked with the staff here in the central office, and they're a great bunch of people. So we can say that we got some outstanding people in Pitt County Schools, and I'm looking forward to this hopefully long relationship moving forward. And also just in the last couple of weeks, had more community meetings we need to take a stick at, and I've just seen a great caring community. It seems like I got another gentleman over here I need to go meet real soon, and just everybody seems to be really wanting to help education, and it's real positive, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Linker. My comments this evening, I'd just like to thank everyone for an outstanding start to the school year. It's been very positive, and that's an awesome thing when we have adults and children and the members of the community seemingly all aligned on the same page, getting results for our young people and making positive differences each and every day. So thank you so much. Mr. Forbes.
No comments.
Ms. Williams.
I had the opportunity to visit a classroom at Wintergreen Primary, and I was watching a kindergarten teacher do her reading 3D assessment. And Tim, I wanted to thank you She was very complimentary of the pad that she had. That worked so much better for reading 3D than the computer. And thank you, Mary, for that opportunity. I was absolutely blown away by what this kindergarten class was doing. And I hope that that will be a fruitful relationship. I want to make myself available to those teachers who may have lost their assistants. And I know I need to get a little higher in the grade, but I was very impressed. And thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Waters. Ms. Lee?
I'd say the hot topic in my area has been whether or not Smart Block was going to return to Rose High School. So I'll just make a public announcement that I have talked to some teachers and administrators over there, and it is being re-implemented this week, I believe.
Wednesday.
Wednesday. So everybody can breathe a sigh of relief. So they didn't take it out. Oh, well, yeah, it didn't start until last year in October. It's a new system where the kids have more time to do homework and studying and be buddied up with, people to, their schedule just changes a little bit. And so for all students or just? No, it's for all students. And it's kind of a learning curve for those that are freshmen, and it was a learning curve for the whole school last year. And it was very successful. Teachers loved it, students loved it. So grades were not.
It can be very good for Spotlight for teaching.
Absolutely.
One of our board
It
meetings
needs
here
to be.
coming up.
Is that the only school with it? Right now.
To the best of my knowledge.
Everybody's kind of looking at it. So, but anyway, parents, you can chill a little bit. It's coming back.
Ms. Campbell?
I don't have any comment.
Ms. Williams?
Oh, boy. I haven't had an opportunity to meet with all my principals in my district, and I'm going to get with Mark and get with Brenda so that I can do my district-wide meeting, hopefully at North Pitt High School, and get with Dr. Cato to get that done so my parents and my students can get together. I'd like to welcome you, Dr. Linker. Got several calls, and all of them have been positive. I think your energy and your vision of diversity has been very well accepted over, and we were excited that it's very rare that the North Side get first visits from superintendents, so we're very proud of that. I also would like to thank everybody that has worked on my subcommittee this summer. We put in a lot of hours to get some stuff done, and we were able to get those things accomplished. So that's the stuff that people don't see on the camera, and I'm very happy for those. I also like to thank the senior staff for their hard work that they put in through the summer. Welcome back all my teachers, my bus drivers, my custodians, and especially my parents and my students. It has been a really good summer, and I look forward to things that are happening in the district this year. I really am, and I'd like to welcome everybody and thank everyone that came tonight also. And thank you, Keith, for your information. But I also would like to thank, there have been a lot of economic hardships in our district that were placed upon our students and lots of households this summer. It was, very hard. And for every person that contributed a pencil, a pack of notebook paper, a backpack, all of the social organizations, the churches, family and friends that were able to just do that and help old uniforms that were in good shape that we were able to, hand down. I just want to say thank you. And what some people say, another man's trash is another person's treasure. And we were able to do a lot of we did a lot of treasure hunting this summer, and so we were able to present a lot of good treasures. And I'm very proud of my community, and I'm proud of the efforts that our teachers and staff will above and beyond to help our students to have a successful, at least start off successful this school year. Thank you, that's it.
Mr. Payton?
Yes, I appreciate the board sending us a #1 constable at North Pitt, and I like the start that football team has started this year. We have got the best start, and I hope we don't jinx it tonight. We got the best start we ever had at North Pitt.
I think Dr. Cato would take 100% of the credit for that. Magic when you work
And not only get the press, but you're the coach.
Mr. Kenny?
Thank you. I would like to welcome Dr. Lanker. I just think you're doing a great job getting out there, meeting people, and it's been a real pleasure getting to know you and your family, just nice people. I hear how excited the community is in large groups and small groups, and every year around this time we feel a certain excitement with the school year starting, and this year there's just a little bit more electricity in the air, and I really like that. I'd like to welcome all our students yet once again. We've recently, all the time we have people moving to Pitt County, and our schools are always open and we're always welcome, and we have that family environment here that you saw, like with Northwest Elementary tonight, and I really love that. I want to thank all the administrators that I see here tonight, and teachers that have come and already gone. Thank you for coming. I would like to point out Brock Letchworth here tonight. When Heather Mayo left your position, I really wasn't happy. And I thought she did a great job, and I make no bones about it. I've said it publicly. I couldn't be more pleased with the job you're doing and the amount of communication we're having as a board and on the website, and I'm hearing it from parents as well. You're really knocking it out of the park. So thank you for that. And then building on Mr. Peen's comments, I've been able to attend a few sporting events here lately, and I'm really excited about the positive publicity our sports programs are getting this year, and I've been real impressed with the sportsmanship that I'm seeing at our facilities. It's been a whole lot of fun, and no matter what school I've gone to, the amount of parents and community members that are volunteering and sweating at the concession stands just like the kids are on the field, it is just inspirational. So I'm really proud, once again, to be a member of Pitt County. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Kenny. Ms. Council?
Okay. First of all, I'd just like to thank our superintendent for coming on board, and as he mentioned, starting off at a fast pace. Appreciate that. And I haven't seen you out there, but I know you've been out there, I've heard.
I've been there.
And so we're proud of that. And we also like to thank all our staff for the hard work they've done this summer. And I also like to say to all the principals at the 5 open houses that I got a chance to attend, and all the parents and students that I got a chance to challenge one-on-one in many cases, letting them know this is most critical time in our educational history, and that take it very seriously. And I had children, was telling kids that I will be checking back on them. I gave parents my cards and all of that, and told them that I will be waiting to hear from if you don't do what you're supposed to do. So I was trying to engage the parents and the kid that they have got to take it seriously this year and work exceptionally hard. And parents are going to have to do more volunteering than ever before because of the cuts and all of that, and just trying to rally that as I move about the community. And so I got a chance to go to Elmhurst, Epps, Eastern, EBA, Cock and J.H. Rose, and I still have a few more schools I plan to go to later just to touch bases. And I attended 3 of the community giveaways, which was the Sycamore Hill Baptist Church, Cornerstone Baptist Church, Moorwood Parents Advisory Group, and they all were giving out great information and or giving away school supplies. And my church also participated at Holly Hill Free Baptist Church in Belvoir, and we're just so grateful for that. And I'd just like to thank, as Mrs. Williams has said, everybody that's pitched in, and I just like to say to Ms. Williams that I really got a chance to do some serious work with you this summer. We were beating the bushes and recycling and trying to get kids uniforms and all kinds of stuff. And we're just so proud of that. And then the lobbying efforts we did at our General Assembly was not easy, but we're glad we did it. And we're so happy for all the organizations that's been promoting education, the civil rights groups and around our state and all of that's been pushing and plugging for our school system. So that's really, really encouraging to know that that the school system is not alone in this fight that we have been doing and will be doing for a while, it seems. And I also like to say finally that the Bethel Union alumni, that's the Bethel Union High School that I graduated from in its 67th year. It had its 100th birthday on August 31st, and that was a real big day in Bethel. And we had over probably 1,000 plus alumni to attend, either between the parade or the banquet, which we had held back at the convention center. Parade was great. A lot of people came out, and we had a lot of young people. My 4-H group was in the parade, and we had over 50-some participants. And I'd like to thank all of you that supported the event, either through ads or just encouraging words and your prayers, and particularly Mr. Peden, Ms. Williams, Mr. Moore, Benji, and all of you that gave us support to make that to be a successful event. And it really brought electricity to Bethel, because I don't think we've seen that many people in a while, and to come in from outside. And we had 2 high school bands. Our bands hadn't quite gotten started, so we used Plymouth High School Band, which had our old school colors, blue and gold, and also Halifax County Band were the bands in the parade. So if we should do something again, we hope to get the time that North Pitt will be involved, since that was the attendance area. So it was exciting, and I did bring some souvenirs for those that really helped with that directly. And so that's pretty much my piece for right now, and it was a great, great one-day event. And we got a chance to see one of our former principals that taught at the school, Dr. Dudley Flood, who was an associate superintendent at the state level, came back, and several of our former retired teachers and principals and assistants that came and participated with us. So it was a great reunion, and it's important that our young people know the history at that time of an all-historic black school that really created some very, very fine citizens of our state and nation. So they came back with all the different various careers. So we did learn in those segregated environments, despite what people thought. And so we just was very proud to see the success stories, even though it was very hard during those times. And so we know we have made a difference. We're contributing to our communities all over this nation today, coming out of the little Bethel Union High School. So that was really a plus for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Winker, I'd like to echo everything that's been said. And the word electricity, I think you have brought it here. And I would say that we, the board, we are aggressively optimistic about what is happening, and our expectation, I don't think is going to lack anything at the end of the year. Thank you for coming on board, and if we are here at your disposal, if there are some things you see need to be done, we appreciate you letting us know. I have visited some schools, and from what I can see, we have the goods to get the job done. I do have a small concern about ACT and the scores, and I guess we've heard about that. But from what I can see, when I visited the school, we have the personnel there that can take care of the job. Not only those few that you saw tonight, but vast majority are really what I would call fired up. thank you for, and congratulations to Creekside and Northwest Elementary, and Mr., and all the support, Mr. Cooper also. We thank you for the words that you have given us, that give us some support also. And I'd like to say thank you to the school board system. I like working with you folks. You're cordial, and I want to make sure that whoever's listening tonight, that we are all approachable, if I can use that term, because I've worked with all of you, and if anything I need, I can just walk up to you and get it. So let me say thank you, and Dr. Lincoln, you have it. Thank you. Thank you.
Ms. Owens?
As long as you don't ask for money, you're Lionel, you ran off and left Farmer Middle School. But that's okay. We've got Mr. Patriot himself, Randy St. Clair. And on September 11th, he had that school, and you would have been proud. It was a great moment and a great day. And I'd like to thank Mr. Video himself, Brock Letchworth, who did the video of Patriots Day, and I guess all of you have seen it by now, but thank you ever so much for caring about doing that, and I think it was an intimate look at what really did happen, because the faces of those children were incredible, and it was a moment to remember. I know, right? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Owens. Mr. Forbes?
Before I read this, I want to let the board know that Benji's not here tonight because his wife is in the hospital and has been in the hospital all day, and so just remember him. I move that we go into closed session to prevent the disclosure of student information that is confidential under 20 U.S.C. 1232G and GS 115C-402. Consult with our attorney to preserve the attorney-client privilege. Establish or instruct the staff or agent concerning the negotiation of the amount of compensation or other terms of an employment contract, and approval of closed session minutes from August 19, 2013.
Been moved by Mr. Forbes. Is there a second? Second. It's been seconded by Mr. Kenny. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same sign. Thank you so much. We're going to close session. We'll take a